Okay, so tonight's daf, again, a continuation of yesterday's daf. So we said, how do you say it? What was the sugi that got us involved in this?
Were we holding?
Oh, welcome back, Avrami. Yud Ches. We're going to start from Yud Ches Amud Aleph. The last word on
Avrami, I was going to call you out.
Line.
You could call me out.
I thought about calling you, just letting you know we started Keshubos.
I was nervous so last week. Till 4 minutes ago, I finally caught up. I caught up to everything.
Okay, I'm still
Parents, I could be mad that Avrami was doing the daf on YouTube.
Every day going to work. I never learned so much on my way to work and coming home from work before in my life.
Gewaldig.
So shame on me because I'm still 4 blocks behind because I haven't gone to work since the Chastama.
Parrots, it's hard to take you seriously, Parrots. You have like the kids mode on. Your face is.
I was wondering. Your
eyebrows.
What is the deal with your eyebrows, Parrots?
I wasn't going to say anything.
My
This is an
tweeters,
improvement.
man.
This is an improvement. I wasn't going to say anything.
I have my kid's computer. I'm like, wow, they really messed this computer up. I have no idea what's going on. Like, it's orange. I don't know what's going on.
I was like,
you're beautiful, Parrots. Parrots, you're a stunner.
Parrots, I know we were together for a few hours yesterday, but I don't think I drank that much.
So I thank you all now. I'm going to spend the rest of the daf trying to figure out how to change this.
Parrots, if you're going to dye your hair, I think your eyebrows should go last. You know what I mean? Anyways, okay.
I like the red lipstick.
Hey, Sviatko says men do this now, so it's allowed.
I didn't say no. I didn't say dye.
2022, baby.
This is not what manscaping means.
Even during 3 weeks,
they wax their eyebrows.
Yeah, but you say he goes to do the hair thing, nowadays.
Yeah. But anyway, they wax eyebrows. I don't know if they do that. Yeah. Anyways, so the sugi that we're talking about is a pesha also who a pesha hitter, right? So meaning the mouth that said something's usher is the mouth that said it's mutter. So therefore he should be believed. Right? So we were talking about the second case of the Mishna in this parak. Said that Rabbi Yeshua's maida that if a guy goes to his friend and says, by the way, the field that I'm in really belonged to your father, but I bought it from him. So he's believed, right? Because he could have just kept his mouth shut and nobody would have any idea nobody would think twice that it's not his own field. Right? So that's the case. So now what the Gemara is trying to figure out is why did it have to come up with such a what do you call it, case, a strange case, to go to the father, right? The father's field. Why not just go to the guy and say, by the way, the field was yours and I bought it from you, right? Okay, so let's see the Gemara. So the Gemara is asking why not go. The Gemara is going to go through a bunch of different cases that it could have said that were easier cases than this. So on the top line on Yud Ches Amud Aleph. So when it says, "V'lisni ma'ida Rabbi Yeshua ba'amir l'chaveri mana levisi mimcha uparati l'cha shu neman." Why can't it just be a case where Rabbi Yeshua agrees that if somebody comes over to his friend in the street and says, "I borrowed money from you, but I paid you back," that he's neman, right? Why can't that just be the case? And when I answer this, the kavayla misni sefer, because the end of the Mishnah, what does the end of the Mishnah say? Im yesh edim shulayim menu. If there's edim that he borrowed it from him, who I'm a perativ, then ain't neman, right? Again, if there's witnesses, then it's not pesha also who a pesha hitter. Meaning pesha also who a pesha hitter is that if the person created the isser, right, or created the chiyuv, and he says, but I paid it up. But if Adam said that he's chayiv, and he says, no, I'm not chayiv, so why should he be believed? It's not a pesha also who a pesha hitter, right? So because it says that in the sefer, how are we going to fit it into this case of a guy going over to his friend and say, I owed you money, but I paid you back? Well, Kai Milan, We know that the rule is that if somebody lends his friend money with witnesses, he does not have to pay him back with witnesses, right? Meaning that the person is believed that he paid back the loan. So why wouldn't he be believed? Again, the way the Gemara wants this case in the Mishnah to say is that a guy should go over to his friend and say, I borrowed money from you, but I paid you back. All right? So now the Gemara is saying you can't say that case because the next case is that, but if there's Aiden that he borrowed money, then he's not believed. But we see beferish that you are believed. Even if somebody borrowed money with Aiden, he does not have to pay back with Aiden. Right? So it doesn't fit into the sefer, so it can't be that case. Fine. So then the Gemara asks, okay, so for listening, but then it should say, if somebody says, I borrowed 100 from your father in I borrowed money from your father, and hachaltiv, which is interesting lashon here, meaning I paid him back pras. I paid him back half of it. Right? So Shahu Neman, that he's believed. So why don't you just say that case? Why do you have to go into a case where he borrowed the field or he bought the field, right? Why don't you just say that he borrowed money from the father and he paid back half? The Gemara asks, how could that be? Or Gemara answers, Alibid the man, who would that be going to? Going according to Alibid the Rabbanon. If it's going according to Rabbanon, Amri, they say Meisha Vaveda Havi. That's the equivalent of returning a lost object. And we know that a Meisha Vaveda is believed. Right? We're never going to make somebody who's returning a lost object make a shavuah. Imagine a guy comes and says, I found your wallet with $100 in it. And the guy says, yeah, but it had $200 in it. So make a shavuah that you didn't see that you didn't have $200 in it. No guy's ever going to return the wallet, right? Because how would you ever return a wallet if you think the guy's going to complain and say, oh, you didn't return anything to me, and therefore make a shavuah? Nobody's ever going to return it. So therefore, the halacha of Meisha Vaveda is that you don't make the fellow make a shavuah. So what's the case here? When he goes to the guy and he says, I borrowed 100 from your friend and I paid back half of it. So according to Rabbanon, that's Meisha Vaveda. He can't make a shavuah. And here, leave it to Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov. If it goes according to Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov, who holds that you could make a shavuah, right? He says you need a shavuah. The Tanya, Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov, sometimes a person can make a shavuah based on his own taina. Normally, when you make a shavuah is when somebody complains against you and you're denying it, so you'd have to make a shavuah. But there's times where, because of you opened your own mouth, you could be required to make a shavuah. What would be the case? Ketzad. So it says, if a guy goes over to somebody and says, I had 100 from your father and I gave him back half, I raised a nishba, he has to swear. And he's making, this is called swearing on his own taina, because he opened his mouth and he said, I borrowed money from the father. Had he just been quiet, he wouldn't have to pay back anything. But he opened his mouth and said he has to pay back half. He said he paid back half, so he has to make a shavuah about that. He's not like a Meisha Vaveda, and he's potter. Right? So in our Mishnah, where he would be believed, that doesn't go not according to the Rabbanon and not according to Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov. So therefore, now the Gemara, therefore the Gemara can't say any of those two cases. Now, because of this, the Gemara breaks off on a tangent a little bit to discuss the sheet of Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov. Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov, less than Meisha Vaveda potter. Right? Does Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov hold that that a Meisha doesn't hold of that Meisha Vaveda is potter? Meaning does Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov hold that if somebody returns a lost object and the guy says, I had more money there, you have to swear? So Rav says, B'tayanai katan. Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov was talking about a case where the katan it's a katan making the taina, right? Meaning, what's the case? The katan says that he knows that this fellow borrowed money from his father and he didn't pay back. And the guy says, I paid you back half. right? And therefore, that's not considered Meshav Aveda because that's the katan having tainas on the gadol, and therefore, Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov holds he has to make a shvuah. But the Gemara asks, we don't trust a cheresh, a shaita, and a katan to make a shvuah, right? Meaning, again, it's a taina of a katan, so we don't trust the katan to make somebody else to make a gadol make a shvuah. So how can you say that will be the case that Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov would say, well, you have to make a shvuah?
See, Yaakov.
Yeah.
Look, if I go to Bezdin first day Sukkot, I say I bench lulav today. Then what does that mean?
You what?
I go to Bezdin, I say I bench lulav today. Or I go to the Rav if the davening say I bench lulav today. So would he say anything to me? He's not. He's interested that I did a mitzvah saseh.
Okay, why not? I'm saying.
So why the fact in Bezdin I did a mitzvah saseh. I returned the guy's wallet. So why are we interested in that? It's a mitzvah saseh for him to do it. So what do we care? What does it get anybody's interest? Good, the guy was Mekayim mitzvah saseh. Why should we possibly make him make a shvuah? For what reason?
No, you're right.
Wouldn't make me make a shvuah that I bench lulav.
Isn't that the Gemara? Isn't that what the Gemara is asking?
No, it's a shvuah hashayimrim. It's Machlokes Tanoim whether a shemer aved is a shemer sak or a shemer finam.
He's not a shomer. He's not a shomer. He returned.
Okay.
He's not a shomer.
He was. When he returned something, he was shomer.
No, but he wasn't a she. He was a halva.
He never had possession of it. Okay, Gershon, I'll make a sports reference to. I can make up any place I want. And he never had possession. He was never in his possession. Bounced off of his tennis racket and went into the guy's window. I wasn't a shomer. He was never a shomer.
I'm not sure what's going on here. The guy that we're talking about is
he turned and took only 1.5 steps towards.
That's right. There was no travel. Never moved the pivot foot, and he put it into the guy's window.
No, but this is we're asking about a Meshav Aveda. Meshav Aveda is a Shomer Aveda. Shomer Aveda is a Shomer. Shomer, the Torah says it's supposed to
Shomer. You want to say that? I don't want to say that.
The what? The Shomer Aveda is a Shomer?
He wasn't a shomer.
Someone who's watching an Aveda is a shomer.
One second. The katan is the one that initiated the claim in Bezdin here, right? He came to Bezdin and said, I remember that my father lent you money and you got to pay it back. This guy says back to him, yeah, I borrowed the money, but I paid him back half. And the kid says, no, you didn't pay him back half. So we're saying in that case, Rav Shimon Elazar says we make a shvuah. So the Gemara says, how do you go make a guy make a shvuah based on a complaint of a katan? Right?
No?
But no, so the Gemara is saying here that it's not a pesha because the kid is initiating the claim.
So it's me, but the guy admitted to half of it.
He admitted to half, correct? So might do a mixus, which we're going to get to in a minute.
So he already admitted that he owes, right?
He admitted half, but he paid back half. But the whole claim was initiated by a katan.
No pesha aser.
Right? It was initiated by a katan. So the Gemara is asking, how are you making a guy make a shvuah based on the claim of a katan? Right? That's really what.
I don't understand why not. The initiation of this shvuah is the fact that he was a shomer. The shomer Aveda has to make shvuahs. There's 3 shvuahs the shomer Aveda has to make. Only one of them is the get to a shomer Aveda. That he should have to make. Raz is saying he doesn't have to make it unless it's initiated by someone else.
Yeah, but I'm saying, but why he wasn't a shomer? I mean, it was a halva here. I don't know if I'm saying it was a loan.
So he's a real shomer. Either way, he has to make a shvuah.
You're mixing up 2 cases, I think. One is a halva, and one was the halva. The kid said that you took money from you borrowed money from my father. So the guy says, yeah, but I paid back half. So the question is, can the kid initiate this for him to make a shvuah? It's not a pesha also.
Wherever the shvuah is coming from, the kid is not being mechadish anything.
The kid is the guy that initiated it.
But does a lawyer have to
Oh,
make
he
a shvuah
says
on a regular
the
basis?
kid says to Ruvain, you owe my father $100. You borrowed $100 from my father. So Ruvain says, yeah, I borrowed 100, but I paid him back 50. There's no pesha. So the kid initiated the whole negotiations here, the whole business.
Yeah, but Reuben agreed. But Reuben agreed that he owes the money.
But
Right,
he
so,
said
okay,
he paid back 50.
But he agreed there was a loan in place. Not as Shiloh's have a chance to pay back.
So good. So there's no pesha. So the kid initiated the thing. He didn't say, "Oh,
He
I
never
had a loan and I
denied he
did
borrowed.
something."
Is this modeh b'mitzvahs?
Oh, so we're going to get to that. It's going to be a form of my mixes. Let's finish up the Gemara because it's a hard shavuah. It's not a hard shavuah, but it's hard to understand what the Gemara was thinking. Because again, the Gemara says, you don't make a shvuah based on the time of a cheres shoyt of a katan. So the Gemara answers, my katan gadol. What does it mean katan here? It doesn't mean that he's a katan. He's a gadol. Okay, so why are you calling him a katan? Why is he called a katan? The legabi mili da aviv katanu, because when you're comparing him to his father, we're calling him a katan now because when you compare him to his father, he's a katan.
Okay, I don't know.
Yeah.
What does that mean, Abba? What does that mean?
That means if anybody saw The Sopranos, he was sitting in the car. He never went into the restaurant for the sit down. He's still in the car. Okay, doesn't have a day.
No, but he's right. He's called a katan.
His father owns 75 buildings, and he comes every morning and he go get coffee for all the guys.
That's the second time today you referred to the driver.
That's right. He gets 20. He goes. They send him to get 25 cups of coffee. That's what he does. In 10 years, his father will give him 4 buildings, but the Viley just gets coffee. He's a cotton. He's a cotton.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So, anyways, I understand where this is coming from because I had this in my own with the bungalow colony that my father's roughly sold it, and there's some disagreements as to exactly what went down with those agreements. And I said there, what should I tell you? This is the way I remember it. And I'm remembering obviously different than the way they're remembering it. Right? So which I tell you, I do understand this Gemara that I'm called a katan because I wasn't totally involved, which I tell you, I wasn't totally involved. I mean, I hold I'm still a katan, but that's a different story. Right? But I'm saying benegaya to this, I was certainly a katan. Hey there, so Gemara says, Ihachi tainas atzmai, tainas achermi. So then that's not considered tainas atzmai, right? Tainas acherim. Here, who initiated this whole thing? The kid initiated it, right? If it was a katan, if it's a katan, so you can call that initiation by nobody. But here, if the guy's a gadol, so I mean, he goes over to the guy and says, by the way, you owed my father money, right? And the guy denies it. So I mean, that's not a taina. That's not a person swearing on his own taina. So the one answers tainas acherim by dos atzmai. What it is, it's the taina of others, but he admitted, right? Since he admitted to half of it, so that it's going to make him make a shvuah, right? So Gemara asks, Kulu tainasa. Every tainas acherim by dos atzmai. Every taina you have, right? Meaning, anytime you have a guy who's moed b'miktzas, it's tainas acherim by dos atzmai, right? So what's the chiddush? Anytime somebody says you owe me money and the guy says I owe you half the money, so then that's a tainas. That's the same situation. So the Gemara answers Allah the Rabba kamiflagi. This comes up a few places in Shas. Right? The Rabba kamiflagi. They're having a machlokes in Shitas Rabba. Doma Rabba. Nifnei ma omra Torah.
Rabbi Yaakov, what did you say? They're having a machlokes in what?
What do you mean?
You said something. I didn't hear because that guy was screaming.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Okay, just an announcement here. Sorry. So it's meaning the Rabba commitment. They're having the machlokes according to Rabba, right? Of whether this special din that Rabba has. That we have a few places in Shas. How come the Torah says that if somebody admits to half, then he has to swear, right? So these are Gemaras in Bava Metzia, and I don't remember where else. So meaning what? I mean, the guy agrees to half. Why should he have to swear on the other half? Meaning, I go over to you and I say, you owe me $100. He says, no, I owe you 50. Right? So why should he have to swear for the other half? He could have just denied the whole thing. So Gemara says, chazaka, because it's a chazaka. A person is not going to have chutzpah in front of a guy who lent him money. A guy's not going to have the chutzpah to deny it. Right? So we're saying that's a chazaka. Right?
I think the Mitzvah has changed today.
I wonder about that, Taka. Does the guy not have the goal to? Does the guy? Yeah. Right. I don't know. So anyway, a person, a chazaka, that a person does not have the chutzpah to deny it. But really, he really wants to deny the whole thing. The kafir, meaning he wants to deny it. The reason why he's not denying it is because a person doesn't want to. A person can't do that to somebody who lent him money. And really, he wants to admit to him the whole amount, right? Because he can't have the chutzpah. So the only reason why he's not admitting to him is he wants to push him off. He's waiting for his bills to come. He's waiting for his accounts receivable to come in. I'm just going to push him off until I get the money to pay him back. Right? So therefore, we're afraid that Itaka is lying. The Torah said, give him a shvuah, so that we're going to force him to be murdered with the whole thing. Okay, so what does that have to do with our case? So Rabbi Lazar ben Yaakov there's no difference whether it's the guy himself that's saying that he's owed money, or whether it's his son who said he's owed money. A guy will not have the chutzpah to deny a loan, whether it's to the person who actually lent into the money or his kid. And therefore he does not have the status of somebody who's a Meshav Aveda, and so therefore he has to make a shvuah. A person will not have chutzpah to deny to the person who actually lent him the money. But to the kids, the guy's son, the guy who lent him his money, his son, he'll have the chutzpah to deny the whole loan. And this that he didn't deny it, Meshav Aveda. So therefore he's like a Meshav Aveda, because he's being a nice guy, and it must be that it's the truth, and therefore we're not going to make him make the shvuah. Right? So it's fairly straightforward. The Machlokes is basically whether a person will not have chutzpah to deny a loan to the actual person who lent him money, but whether the person will have chutzpah to deny it to the person who lent him money, his kid, that's already a Machlokes. So the one that Rabbi Lazar ben Yaakov says he will not have the chutzpah, so therefore he's a Moed b'miktzas, like the standard case. Therefore, he has to make a shvuah on the rest. And the Rabbanan say no, he would have the chutzpah to deny it. And this that he's not denying it is because he's just being a meshav. He's being a nice guy, and therefore he has to. Therefore, he doesn't have to make any sort of shvuah at all. Fine. Okay. Next Mishnah, as we continue in this type of din of the pesha also who a pesha hitter. Now we have another form of this case. So Eidim Sha'amru. Eidim say, yeah, Ksav Yadenu Uzeh. So they're coming to normally what you have to do is when you have a star that says somebody owes somebody else money. So what you try and do is you try and confirm it. Right? It's sort of like, the artifacts from baseball. They always have a guy that
the authenticator.
That's it, the authenticator, right? That's the guy that authenticates everything, right? So what you want to do is you want to authenticate a star also. So you either could do it by the Eidim saying yes, it's ours, right? Or other Eidim saying that they recognize the signatures, or Bezdin compares it to. I mean, they have all sorts of ways to.
Why are they doing it? But what's the reason they're doing it?
What's the reason that they're doing it? To confirm that the star is legitimate.
Well, it's authenticated before you collect it?
Yes, yeah. Meaning a guy comes to Bezdin with a star. He says, this is my star, and this guy owes me $1,000. So we say, okay, let's prove that the star is legit. You don't just accept the star.
There's two Eidim on the star, we don't assume it's legit?
Yeah, correct. By shtaris, we do not assume it's legit. You have to confirm it.
So if the guy lives in Europe and he brings this star in America, then and we can't get the agent, so we assume it's no good.
It's not no good, but he has to because people I think the pshat was because forgeries were rampant. No, I think so. Therefore, since forgeries were very easy to happen, so therefore they wanted to make sure they're mekayim the shtaris.
You by get, like to mekayim. To bring a get,
I think get was for a different reason. Get was because they didn't know the halacha of that the get has to be written the shema. Maybe.
Here we notarize things. You get it notarized. It's not a far out idea.
Oh, you're right. Notarize is a good.
Yeah.
Notarize a good marshal type of. Right. That's you have to get notarized. You got to. I never understood the notary exactly, but yeah. But that's essentially that's what it is. But our legal system makes it a little tougher than a notary.
The notary just doesn't verify the document is true; just verifies the signature.
Right. So that's a good marshal.
I know of a case where someone signed a prenuptial agreement at the chasana, and unbeknownst to everybody except this guy's father was a lawyer, that it has to be notarized to be a legal document in New York State. So. It's a chutzpah. I mean, they had a videotape, they had the Rav there, they had him signing, and they said, well, there was no notary. And he actually, so you're right. This is a process that has to be followed in some cases.
I mean, some people make their mothers proud becoming lawyers and not doctors. That's what you're saying.
And some people just love baseball, and they keep striking out.
Yeah. Anyways, okay, so that's
that took the cake. You took the cake there. Very good.
So let's see by this. So anyway, so Adam Shamru. So the Adam here come to peasant, and they say, yeah, Ksav Yadenu was out. Yeah, we 100%. We signed this stock. Okay, Avo. Right? There's always a but. Avo Anusama Yinu, but we were forced into it. Katanima Yinu, or we were Katanim when we signed it, Psuleedus Yinu, or we were Psuleedus, meaning they said, we just were on the way back from Atlantic City or something, and we just signed it. I don't know if that's the Psuleedus that they're referring to, but right, if the Lachar they were, let's say, brothers-in-law, and then they weren't brothers, or something like that. Either way, Harei Elu Ne'emanim, they believed, right? Because really, if they were going to be scammers, they could have just said, yes, it's our signature, finished, right? So, but they not. They said it's our signatures, but we were forced into it. Meaning, and therefore they're passing the shtar. So they're saying, yes, these are our signatures, but it's possible because we did not sign these in the proper way. So but let's say you have eidim that say that it was their ksav yad, or we proved their signatures from someplace else, right? Meaning, so we knew that they were already the eidim, so then it's no longer pesha or pesha iter, like we said before, because we already knew was their signatures. So, and then they're coming and saying, oh yeah, but we were forced. Then Einu Ne'emanim, they're not believed because they don't have pesha asa, who are pesha iter, right? Fine. So Zakti Gemara, when are we saying this, right? That's only when they say we were on Nusim. Meaning this is going on the safe of the Mishnah, but the safe says that if we already figured out that it's their signatures and they say that they were forced into it, they're not believed. We're saying that's only when we say that that's because they were forced because of money, right? Meaning they said if you don't sign this shtar, we're gonna like mafia, like good old mafia. We're gonna steal your money. We're gonna do these type of things. But if they say that they were einzim because of life, meaning their lives were threatened, then they are believed. Right? Now, the Gemara says.
So I mean, if a guy puts a gun to the head, and says I'm going to take the house, right?
Yeah.
If you $2 million, right? Then we believe. We don't believe. But
correct. If we already knew that these guys signed on it, but if right? We're not talking about where they admitted there, meaning they were already independently proven that they signed on it, and then they say that they were forced. That's when they're not believed. But only if they say they were forced for financial reasons. If they were forced because of death, then they are believed. Let's see how the Gemara goes.
Yeah.
Right,
The
so
Gemara say Rush. Ain't that the
So Rava, Amarle Rava, so Rava said, Amarle Rava, so Rava said, Amarle Rava, so Kol Kamine, Kivin Shehigit Shuva Eine Chayzer Magid, is that, Kol Kamine means, is this true? Right? That's one way of touching it. Meaning, do they have such belief? We believe them. Kivin Shehigit, right? Since he already said over his edus, Shuva Eine Chayzer Magid, they can't go back on it. Meaning, when they signed on this shtar, they're saying that the shtar is a legitimate shtar. Now, a month later, when they're confirming the shtar, they're saying it's not legitimate. How could you believe them? That's there's a word for this in the lawyer world. Double. It's not a double. It's not a double jeopardy, right? It's whatever it is. Meaning you can't backtrack on your edus. You already said edus once. You can't go there. You can't go back and change it, right? So again, since they already said edus, since they said the edus, which is when they signed on the shtar, they can no longer backtrack on that. So Gemara asks, the pite mahani mili alpeh. That's only, when did we say Kivin Shehigit Shuva Nechazir Magid? That's when they actually said edus. They said edus. They can't add after touch the day deeper. They can no longer change what they said because obviously we're worried about shenanigans. What? Avo, the shtar loy, but a shtar, we don't say this thing. Yeah, because it's coming from the word Yagad Lavru, which means that they said. Meaning when the Adam say something, we don't allow them to change it. But when they signed on something, maybe we should allow them to change it. So if you're going to say that, if Adam signed on a shtar, we look at it as if they were actually interrogated in Bezdin, and therefore it's as if they said something. So therefore, what's going on here? How is it that we could believe these guys that they changed their mind? So Ella, so Gemara answers, Ella ki yitmar, aresha yitmar. When did we say this? Then we're saying it on the resha, which is harei elo nemon. We do believe it. When it's a pesha, also who a pesha itin, right? And when they're the ones that came in and said that it's their signatures on the shtar, but they were forced. When were they nemon? They're only believed when they said that they were forced into it because of their lives were threatened. But if they say their lives were threatened because of, they're not their lives were threatened. They were forced into signing this shtar, which is false because of financial reasons. They're not believed. My timer, because of this major rule of a person cannot make himself into a rasha, right? As hard as some of the guys on the daf try, right? But we cannot make themselves. A person cannot make himself into a rasha, right? So Memela, these guys are making themselves into a rasha. If they're saying, "Oh, we were forced into signing this shtar that was not true because we wanted to make a few dollars or we wanted to save a few dollars," so then that makes them into rasha. So therefore, it's not allowed. Therefore, they would not be believed. Okay, so Tana Rabbanan ain't naman on the place like Divrei Meir, but Tanarim naman. So we're saying that this din in the Mishna is actually Machlokes Tanaim, right? So Meir holds that they're not believed, and the Chachamim say they are believed. So Bishol Rabbanan, it's good according to Rabbanan. Kitamayu. The reason is Shapesha Zahu Apesha Hitter, because they say that the reason why they believe is because the mouth that said that it was no good also said it is good. El Rameir, my time, how come Rameir doesn't believe them? So Bishlam Psule Eidos. So it's good if it's a Psule Eidos, Malva Kofeme, Karameda Tayak. So we know that the Malva, nobody's lending money unless he makes sure that these witnesses are legit. So Malva Kofeme, Karameda Tayak. And then they signed Kitanim Nami, and Tanim also to the Rish Lakish, Tomer Rish Lakish, on Tomer Aleph now. Chazaka ain't Eidim Paisman al Ashtar Elam Kin Nasa Begadol. Right? It's a chazaka that Eidim don't sign an Ashtar unless he's a Gadol. El Anusin my time, but how come if they were Anusin, right? Why does Rameir say that they're not believed? It should be a Pesha also a Pesha. Samar Chistok, Samar Rameir, Eidim Shamru Lahem Chasmu Sheker. So Rav Chisda has this wild thing, which we have to continue fighting with this because it's so hard to understand. Rav Chisda is saying that Rameir holds that if Eidim are told to sign on the star and then they won't get killed, they should rather die and not sign on the star for sheker. Right? Now the question is, what is the Havamina? Basically, we're saying that there's four cardinal sins. There's Gili Arayis, Shvichas Damim, Avodah Zarah, and also don't falsely sign on the star. Right? Again, he's saying that Rav Chisda is saying that Rameir holds that Eidim that are told to sign on a star, otherwise they're going to lose their lives, should lose their lives. So Gemara asks, that's exactly the Gemara's kasha.
How come we don't talk about this, that it's a Yarg Val Yarva like the other ones?
So that's going to be Gemara's kasha. That's very good. So let's say they came to us to ask us what they should do, right? You got these guys whose lives are threatened, and they come and they say, what should we do? We got a sign in the star, otherwise we're going to die. So I'm reading the Hu, Zilu Chasuma, Scotland. Go sign on the star and don't die. How do you know? The only three mitzvahs that stand in the way of Pikuach Nefesh is Avodah Zarah and Arayis and Shvichas Damim Bilvad. So Hashta the Chasmu Amrina Lu Amai Chasmeitzu. Now that they did sign on it, and they come to us and tell us, by the way, we signed on this star because our lives were at stake, and that's why we signed on it. So now we're gonna tell them, why'd you sign? Meaning, if they would have come to Bezdin and told us to sign, we would have told them sign. Of course, you got to sign to save your life. So now that they already signed, we're saying they're not believed. So time of the Rameir, so now the Gemara changes totally. Why is it the Rameir does not believe these Eidim? Again, why does Rameir not believe them when they came and they said, these are our signatures, but our signatures were forced? Why wouldn't he believe them? If somebody is maida that the star was written, right? So then the one holding the star does not have to be Makayim it. Yeah. So meaning he's going with the opinions that hold, like you were saying, Seth. You don't need to confirm. How do you call it? What do you call it? You don't have to get stars notarized, right? Meaning, if the loive says, the borrower says, I agree that I did this loan, then doesn't need any sort of confirmation. So since it doesn't need a confirmation, so then these guys, what are these guys giving to us? These Eidim. And either way, it was a good start. So since it was a good start, by them saying that they were forced, they're not believed because we already knew that it's no longer Pesha because we already knew that the star was a good star, right? So therefore, that would be the reason why Rameir holds that the star is no good. But sounds like in a regular case, Rameir would be Maida, that if the Eidim are the ones that said that it's their signatures, but they were forced, that they would be believed, right? Yeah. Okay. So we'll stop over here. Well, tomorrow we continue the Pesha Saru Pesha Hitter Sugya. Okay.
So it's 8:40 the whole week.
It's 8:40. We're going to try and make it a little earlier as the minors get earlier because there's a chaver get up very early, so we're trying to make it somewhere short. Yeah.
Right.
You trying to make what earlier?
A few minutes early, we're trying to make the doc. Hello.
You're killing